La abogada Margaret W. Wong tiene 45 años de experiencia en leyes de inmigración y ha sido premiada en múltiples ocasiones como una de las mejores abogadas del país. Maneja todo tipo de casos migratorios a nivel nacional y tiene oficinas en 9 ciudades: Cleveland, Nueva York, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, Columbus, Raleigh, North Carolina, Chicago y Minneapolis. No hay caso de inmigración que no podamos manejar. Es la abogada Margaret Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. 216-259-8897. 216-259-8897.
Yo soy Margaret Wong.
Bienvenidos a su espacio Camino del Inmigrante con la abogada Margaret Wong de la firma de abogados Margaret Wong y Asociados. Estamos hablando de más de 45 años en el área migratoria de los Estados Unidos, defendiendo a los inmigrantes con pasión. Como cada miércoles a esta hora nosotros nos conectamos con los anfitriones de este espacio, Juan Carlos Brando y por supuesto la abogada de inmigración Margaret Wong. Buenos días.
Hola Alicia, ¿cómo estás? Buenos días, gracias por tenernos en la mañana de hoy. Good morning, Ms. Wong. Thank you for having us today and welcome back.
Thank you. And I heard in New York, some security people are beating up some Venezuelan guy, but let's not jump to conclusion that, it's another foreign person, that's invading this country. On the other hand, though, the problem now is immigration world has changed so much. So if anybody in any position of power is listening, Mr. Mayorga, President Biden, Vice President Harris, anybody who's listening, another thing I recommend you to do is to really try to not allow the American embassy people deny or close up for their tourist visa or their student visa or their J1 visas. Because look at Japan and Korea. I've been doing this for more than 45, approaching 50 years. So years and years ago, I see a lot of Japanese people, Korean people who come, and now that they overstay means that I came legally, but I stayed over. I never leave because then I became pregnant, I have children here, and now I became illegal. Now that look at Korea, Japan, we have e-visa. We also have visa waiver. That's the 90-day visa. Now with that visa, you don't see a lot of undocumented new arrivals. Even China now, because of Hillary Clinton years ago, opening up the student visa route, the tourist visa route, you don't see Chinese coming here illegally like 30, 20 years ago when China just opened up. So one advice I have looking at that sad Venezuelan case is to really try, and I know there's no more American embassy in Venezuela, but at least in Colombia, wherever there's an American embassy, absolutely make the people go to work. Because when President Trump left the office or when he came in for that lousy 4 years, he fired anywhere between 120 to 200 U.S. Department of State officials who work in American embassy overseas, thinking that they're useless, they can save some money. It's his game. Once those people left, the tourist visa went down, then you have COVID, people don't want to come to work because they're scared of COVID. So now even the American embassies are closed. If you go to the web of usdos.gov, US Department of State, some tourist visa in American embassy, they need 600 days to get a visa. So what do these people do? They'll get emotional. They'll say, I'm going to go emotionally. Because if you look at all those web, they're saying, President Biden is nice. They'll let us in. They don't let us in. In the meantime, we get raped, we get robbed, we get beaten up. But the promise, you should apply for a legal visa to start with before you come illegally. And we should not just go through. So now you're encouraging, because of all these American embassy closing down and stuff, and the slowness of giving out tourist visas or green cards and stuff, now you're encouraging people to come undocumented to America. And my listeners, I know a lot of people don't listen to me, but whoever wants to listen to me, you see that most people who are coming up now, they're not just from Mexico. In fact, most people that came up from Mexico are the really uneducated and the women who were pregnant since they were very young. in rural countries, the educated, they're not coming. In Mexico, Colombia, Honduras, we have a big educated class that you need them to come. So maybe start doing TN visas. I know it's impossible because only Canada and Mexico have TN visas, but maybe start at the CAM programs, a great program. But whenever I refer people to Central America CAM program, now they're saying that not-for-profits cannot help them. So what good is it? You keep coming up new programs and it doesn't help. So these people keep coming every day. I get calls from Venezuelans, from Colombians, from Chinese. Say, oh, I'm just coming back illegally. It's just easier. Just pay someone $8,000, $12,000 at come. Because in order to come legally, even with a fake visa, it used to cost $60,000, $80,000. So what good is it to let them come to America illegally? Now we're stuck with 2 million people at the border. So my advice is really open up, make the lines for green card shorter for Mexican student visa. And a lot of Mexicans have money. Don't think Mexican people or Latino people or the old Venezuelans, new Venezuelans, we have no money, but the old ones, they're rich. That's why, and there was a time 5-6 years ago, there's no Venezuelans. Syrians, oh my gosh, there's so many Syrian doctors here. If you only open up to get them in on parole and stuff, then they don't have to come illegally and file for asylum and stuff like that. But that's my advice for the day. It's really sort of sad, the southern border, but I keep asking myself, they are going to come. Unless we change us, we're not going to change them. And we need to stop the propaganda saying that, oh, it's easy to come. It's easy to come through a border. Because yesterday, I actually met with an American citizen, an old friend of mine, an awesome horse trainer, and awesome American citizen. I mean, I know her for 20 years. Her son actually got her green card through asylum, like 15 years ago. She got the 730 for the son. The son came and somehow got denied the green card, went back to Russia, even though they carry a respect passport. And then he came back, filed for asylum, and then something went wrong. I mean, the son, I think he's arrogant anyway, but then he went back because by then Russia is doing well. Now Russia is such a bad case that now he went to Turkey, who came back to America. He came to Mexico, and now the U.S. citizen mother wanted to bring him to the border. Now the kid is 37 years old. He has been fighting this case since the age of 12. And they went to different, another thing is they really didn't, because in those days, people don't use lawyers the way we do it now, and also in those days, we don't advertise. There's no Facebook to teach people. So times have changed. So these are things that we need to make a difference. And people who are listening, just like last week, we asked Georgia, what are you doing with my money that we pay for driving without a license? Now, my question is, why couldn't more people work in American embassies, wherever you are, hire more people or send inland people out there not to approve, but at least to adjudicate some of these visas? Then people would not come illegally. They'll come legally, they'll leave on time, because if they leave on time, they keep that 10-year visa. It's only when they come and they stay illegally, then they'll never go back. Then you are stuck with another undocumented or illegal people here. People don't want to be illegal. And times have changed. It's not like only people like us, who really want to go to school, who really were poor, or who really were the intellectual. Like my parents are people who are really against, China at that time and the Communist Party and stuff like that. But now times have changed with Google and stuff. Sorry, my 2 cents worth of advice.
Muchísimas gracias, abogada.
Okay.
Juan Carlos, excelente la exposición de la abogada.
Yeah. Sí, entonces la abogada nos decía inicialmente, pues tiene unos consejos y algo que expresarnos para el día de hoy. Nos dice la abogada que se enteró del caso del venezolano que fue golpeado por un guardia de seguridad en Nueva York, y nos dice la abogada, cuidado, no hay que apresurarse a hacer conclusiones muy rápido, porque muchas veces las cosas no son lo que parecen. Y nos dice la abogada que ahora mismo está preocupante la situación con el hecho de las personas piensan, y se ha corrido la voz, se ha hecho como una publicidad acerca de que el presidente Biden es simpático, es una persona que le da entrada a todos, y por eso la gente está animándose de alguna u otra forma a entrar a los Estados Unidos, sea de forma legal o entregándose en la frontera, y está viniendo todo tipo de personas con problemas o sin problemas. Están llegando porque se sienten con el ánimo de llegar, porque el presidente, de alguna manera, los medios de comunicación han dicho que está dejando entrar a las personas. Entonces, el problema está en que muchas veces se niegan visas de turista porque durante el gobierno del presidente Trump se recortó el personal para trabajar en las embajadas en países de distintos lugares del mundo, y entre esos países de Latinoamérica. Y al no dar visas en Latinoamérica, pasa como pasaba en Japón, en Corea, años atrás, donde no les daban visas. Entonces la gente se venía la gente de menos recursos y de menos educación, se venían como polizontes en los barcos y llegaban aquí a los Estados Unidos de una forma ilegal. Entonces es mejor que quizás abran esas embajadas, que pongan el personal que tienen que colocar a trabajar en esas embajadas en los países de donde está emigrando la gente, y que vean quiénes son los que tienen capacidad, que aunque sea que se vienen con una visa de turista y llegan a emigrar, eso no los impulsa o no impulsa a la gente a que intente venirse por la frontera. Y eso pasaba mucho en años anteriores. Entonces hay que tener muy en cuenta la situación que se está presentando ahora, cómo está colapsando el sistema, y cómo el presidente podría detener a la gente de sentir el ánimo, de sentirse animado a venirse aquí a los Estados Unidos de forma ilegal, sino hacerlo por medio de una visa, pero que faciliten quizás el acceso a esas visas y que no haya tanta demora en el proceso de esas visas de turista. También hay otras formas como la gente se puede venir, pueden aplicar por visas, pueden aplicar por visas de trabajo, visas de turista, para países como Colombia y Venezuela, que tienen gente muy educada, pueden aplicar por las visas TN, que son unas visas especiales para personas que puedan venirse a trabajar aquí en los Estados Unidos. Entonces, hay muchas formas como ellos pueden buscarlo, pero si no se solucionan los problemas dejados por administraciones anteriores, entonces el sistema comienza a colapsar y la gente empieza a sentirse animada a venirse de forma ilegal.
¿Qué es lo que ha estado pasando, Juan Carlos? No es un sistema que está por colapsar, es un sistema colapsado de inmigración en donde ellos mismos, dentro del Partido Demócrata, la cantidad de atraso que hay con los casos, por ejemplo, cuando nos referimos a Venezuela y a Colombia de asilo, es impresionante. Y lo que va a pasar entonces, cuando ya vayan delante de un juez, es una historia que hay que esperar para contarla. Usted puede conectarse con nosotros en este momento totalmente en vivo, solo marcando el 216-259-8897 para enviar sus preguntas. Y en vivo a través de nuestro Facebook Live, en este momento desde cualquier parte del mundo, si tiene una pregunta migratoria. Y comienzan a llegar las preguntas. Nos dicen, buenos días, una persona que la golpeó su pareja abogada americano, pero no están casados. ¿Puede aplicar esta persona entonces por VAWA o visa U? Es americano, pero no están casados y es su pareja sentimental actual.
Okay, so Ms. Wong, a person that was beat up by the partner is an American citizen, but they are not married. The victim of this case could apply for VAWA or U visa?
U visa, she need to go report it to the police, because U visa, the most important thing is you need a law enforcement signature. VAWA, no, because they were partners, but they were not married. So U visa, so both, maybe it's not too late to report to police and see what happened. But VAWA has to be a spouse that has a green card or citizen.
Excelente, Juan Carlos.
Sí, ahí está la respuesta. Nos dice la abogada que en este caso, si ha sido golpeada por una persona americana, una persona ciudadana americana, sí puede arreglar, pero como no están casados, entonces no puede aplicar por VAWA, sino por la visa U necesariamente. Pero la respuesta es sí, sí puede arreglar. Lo único que para poder arreglar de esa forma tiene que reportarlo a la policía, y al momento de reportar a esta persona a la policía podrían arrestarlo. Tiene que tener eso en cuenta. Entonces, si hace el reporte, si habla con la policía y le da seguimiento al caso, podría aplicar por la visa U, más no por el VAWA por el hecho de que no están casados.
Y es súper importante aclarar este tema. Nosotros entramos en octubre, noviembre, el mes de la prevención de la violencia, noviembre, el mes de la violencia, el mes de la prevención de la violencia contra la mujer. Y muchas veces, como hace la pregunta esta señora, dice, es mi pareja, es americano, sufrí de golpes. Hay que primero estar seguro si usted va a hacer esa denuncia y va a seguir con el caso, Juan, porque hemos visto muchísimos casos entonces en que la mujer desiste, tiene un arreglo con su pareja, novio o esposo, y luego entonces hay más conflictos. Y recordar que la espera de la visa U es de 6 a 7 años, antes era de 5, pero por el mismo colapso que tiene el Departamento de Migración en este momento, hay un mayor retraso.
Así es. Bueno, muchas gracias. Recuerden que el número de teléfono de la abogada es el 216-259-8897, 216-259-8897.
Y que estamos nosotros en 9 oficinas alrededor de todos los Estados Unidos en los cuales usted en este momento puede llamar, pedir una consulta. Hablamos inglés, hablamos español, hablamos el idioma que usted hable en este momento que nos está escuchando, gracias a las traducciones simultáneas en todo el mundo. Seguimos recibiendo preguntas a través del Facebook Live y usted puede marcar en este momento al 216-259-8897 para hacer su cita. Hola, ¿una persona que espera por asilo puede trabajar como intérprete en la corte, abogada?
So, Ms. Wong, this question is, a person who is waiting for asylum could work as an interpreter in the court?
That's a good question. It's a C8 work permit. C8 work permit is an open market work permit. That means you could do anything you want for that 2 years as a C8. As far as interpreter with the court, because my understanding is for the court, they have contracts with different interpreting services. They don't directly hire one interpreter. So you need to go to the company who has a contract with immigration court and ask them if they're willing to hire you, why not? But as far as, for example, we always need interpreters to go with us to immigration interviews, even though nowadays more and more immigrant, like New York, they require their own people to translate. That, yes, with the C8, you can interpret for anybody in any court. But if you work in the courts, immigration court system, you need to work for the company who have a contract with the court, and depends on the company. But as far as a regular, if I ask someone, they have a work permit, can you help me translate in court? The answer is yes.
Ok. Nos dice la abogada Alicia con respecto a esta pregunta que la respuesta es que sí, como tiene un permiso categoría C08, que es el que corresponde al permiso de trabajo por asilo, sí puede solicitar ser intérprete. El tema está en que las personas que trabajan como intérpretes no siempre son un solo intérprete, sino que son compañías que tienen intérpretes y puede ser una persona, puede ser otra persona y son los que le dan ese servicio a la corte. Ahora, que si una persona puede pedirle a otra que vaya con él a la corte para ser el intérprete, si la corte se lo permite, puede hacerlo, no hay ningún tipo de problema. Categoría C08 del permiso de trabajo no tiene ningún tipo de limitación para hacer cualquier tipo de trabajo legal.
Información es muy útil para cientos y cientos de personas que nos están mirando en este momento, porque uno creería que todos los trabajos que tienen que ver con corte, con gobierno, hay que ser necesariamente ciudadano, pero ahora la abogada nos aclara y nos da una nueva ventana de posibilidades para usted que está aplicando por asilo y que tiene las facultades para ser intérprete. Nos llegan más preguntas a través de nuestro Facebook Live y usted puede conectarse con nosotros con tan solo marcar al 216-259-8897 para una cita y por supuesto a través de esta red social. Buenos días, ¿hay alguna forma de arreglar por los hijos? Tengo mi hijo que va a cumplir 21 años en diciembre.
Okay, Ms. Wong, this person is asking, is there a way that I could get a relief through my children? I have a son that is turning 21 in December.
Okay, so this is a good question. The question is, can I get a green card and or work permit after my son is 21? Because in American immigration law, any child over 21 years old could sponsor the parents. The answer is yes, the child can always sponsor you and help you get a green card after they're 21, and that is I-130. So once the son filed the I-130, yes, it will be approved. It may take 9 months to 1.5 years. But the real question is, after the I-130 and the relationship is sustained, could I get a work permit and do a green card? In America, there are two ways to do green card. You either do adjustment of status in America, or you have to go back to home country and come back with a waiver. Waiver is a pardon. It's what we call a 601A pardon. Now, if you came undocumented, you cannot do adjustment of status. So you need someone to give you a pardon, and that person has to be a parent or spouse. In this case, if you don't have a spouse who is green card or citizen, or your parents are not green card and citizen, even after the I-130 is approved, you could not get a work permit or green card. It's complicated, but that's the shortest way I can explain to you. So the real question is, do I have a relative that can give me a 601A waiver? Number one. Number two is, do I have a perm bar? That means that I leave and come back, leave and come back. Anytime you left and come back and stayed in America for more than a year, illegally, you won't get that green card. So as long as you have no perm bar, you have parents or spouse who can give you a 601A, your son is over 21 and he can sponsor you, absolutely, you should be able to get a green card, provided you have no criminal records or no serious criminal records. Sorry about the long answer.
No problem. Ms. Wong, it's a good answer. And we always love your answers because you explain the whole thing, not just the little tiny question. You just don't go to that specific point. So thank you so much for sharing all of the knowledge. Nos dice la abogada Alicia que, bueno, en este caso habría que ver cómo fue que entró la persona a los Estados Unidos para ver si su hijo puede arreglarle directamente. Y en todo caso, si esta persona entró legalmente, el hijo al cumplir 21 años, podría solicitar la I-130 y posteriormente se hace el ajuste de estatus que ya vendría dentro de todo el proceso y arregla aquí en los Estados Unidos. Igual tendría que salir por un par de semanas para hacer el proceso en la embajada y ya regresar con su green card aquí en los Estados Unidos. Lo otro que hay que ver es si la persona entró a los Estados Unidos de forma ilegal, y entonces tendría que tener otro familiar que califique para que pueda solicitar el perdón para esta persona que entró de forma ilegal y que su hijo ya está cumpliendo los 21 años, pero no califica para el perdón. Entonces tendría que conseguir una mamá, un papá o un esposo que califique para poder hacer esa conexión. Por medio del hijo se hace la I-130 y por medio del esposo, la esposa o los padres de esa persona se hace el perdón 601A para que pueda arreglar aquí dentro del país.
Definitivamente, Juan Carlos, excelente respuesta de la abogada Margaret W. Yo sé que hay muchas personas en esa situación que llegaron o nacieron estos niños aquí, los padres no tenían documentación y que han estado esperando precisamente cumplir los 21 años para poder hacer ese tipo de peticiones. Es una muy buena noticia para esta familia. Recuerde que usted se puede conectar con nosotros marcando al 216-259-8897, que es ese teléfono que sale ahí. Estamos en 9 ciudades que usted también le está viendo a través de la pantalla y conversando en estos momentos y aprovechando el tiempo con la abogada Margaret W. Estamos hablando de más de 45 años en el ejercicio de la defensa de inmigrantes en los Estados Unidos. Nos llega una pregunta a través del Facebook Live y nos dicen, hola, ¿qué pasa cuando una persona no se presenta a reportarse con inmigración? Interesante pregunta.
Okay, Ms. Wong, so this person is asking, what happens if a person doesn't show up to report in ICE?
Need to know the reason. Now, through the year, ICE have been, before ICE came in 2003 into Homeland Security, immigration itself does all the reporting. So in the olden days, they give bag and baggage letters, you're allowed 45 pounds, but nobody ever show up. But in those days, there's also no computer, no fingerprints, so people don't care. Now they're pretty serious. And I always believe in the two things you can do. Number one, if you don't show up, you're free choice, you're free will, you're in America, you do whatever you want. But nowadays, it's very hard to run away. Like in the olden days, I get a job in a restaurant washing dishes. Now the people, ICE or immigration came to my restaurant to catch these people from the back of the restaurant. They run away. So now ICE become better. They send 5 agents, 3 in the front, 2 at the back. So they catch all of us. Those days are gone, So it's personally, as a lawyer, I always recommend you to report, but whatever they say, you need to do it. So for example, they say next time you need to bring a passport. You need to bring the passport. Don't just say, oh, I forgot, But for now, the good news is as long as you have no deportation order, as long as you have no criminal record, even if you have nothing pending in court, a lot of times they do not deport. They just want you to report. The good news also about reporting is that you get a 220B form. It's a form. It's called 220B. With that, you can also get a C-18 work permit, good for 1 year. And you get that work permit, so it's better than not reporting and become totally illegal. But that's a good question. So what happened if during the virus, I was sick, I didn't report, can I report now? Absolutely. ICE is opening, and right now under Biden, they're not deporting too many people, except I would like to bring up one point, because I've seen a lot of domestic violence in the communities, in the Chinese community, in the Indian community, in the Latino community. And sometimes it's not even the spouse who report us, it's more the neighbors. So please don't beat up and don't drink and drive. Don't beat up your children, because in our culture, we beat up kids, we beat up wives, but it's stop. No more beating up. So as long as there's no domestic violence, no DUI, no pornography, because the FBI people are watching, they normally don't deport. But right now, I've seen quite a lot of cases where the neighbors, people are discriminatory. We cannot change them, but we can change myself. So if you want to fight and argue, do it inside the house and do it quietly. Argue like the American people. They're very silent. They listen to orchestra. People like us, we yell and scream, and we are happy. We use our hands. We eat, so it's a different culture. So just be quiet, all right? Don't let the neighbors report us, because they probably don't like us because we're different from them. I still remember when I moved into my house, about 35 years ago, the first day I drive up my driveway, I got a ticket. So in those days, I don't even know it's probably discrimination, because I'm the first Chinese who moved into that neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood. So I went through it. I mean, what makes you so special? So just be quiet, get your green card, get your work permit, and one day after you become a citizen, you can fight whatever you want to fight.
Gracias, abogada Wong. Juan Carlos, antes de la traducción, definitivamente tiene muchísima razón la abogada. Muchas veces nosotros los latinos somos como un poquito más alborotados, más felices, y a veces se nos olvida que estamos en un país con una tradición diferente y que, claro, debemos respetar las leyes, que estas leyes son diferentes a las leyes de nuestros países.
So Alicia is adding that Hispanic people are very lively. So
yes.
So
the Chinese,
So sometimes we don't want to respect the law, and that could be. Yeah. So this person is adding, Ms. Wong, that he or she is calling ICE, but they never answer the phone.
It doesn't hurt just to go there. They're like in Cleveland, our ICE is closed at least 1 day, if not 2 days a week now. I would just go there and show them the papers and say, I tried that day. And anytime they're closed, like sometimes because of the virus, they're closed for 1 day for cleaning or for stop, whatever. Take a picture of yourself in front of the ICE office and say, I reported you were not there, or something. But and another thing is ESAP is a private company. So even though you report to ICE, a lot of times ICE will say you have to see ESAP, you have to report once every week. those people make a lot of money. That's a private business. And also the ankle bracelet. I've seen people who are in America 3 or 4 years, you still are on ankle bracelet. We have a case where the kid came to America when he was 16. The parents went back because the mother had cancer. They have no health insurance. But in the meantime, both parents died. He never had actually he was from one of those war countries, so he never really had a leg. And then it got worse and worse to lose one leg. They put an ankle bracelet on his other leg. I mean, America, what are you thinking? You know? So I told him, you just have to go there. Oh, in that case, we did it. But you can just go there and show them. I mean, these ICE people are human beings. They really are not as mean or ESAP people. They're just doing their jobs. You need to show them, make them feel bad for you, make them understand, I could be your granddaughter. I could be your daughter. So be nice to me. I'm a human being. And especially from some part of the world, like, some part, I mean, very bad things are happening. And people are nice in general if you're nice back. Because if you're mean to me, I'm mean to you back. And then we talk, you know? Yeah.
Ok. Bueno, Alicia, nos dice la abogada que, bueno, tenemos que tener cuidado si no pudo reportarse con ICE. Tiene la persona que tratar de ir con ICE y reportarse. ICE existe desde el año 2003, cuando cambiaron algunas reglas. Antes todo se hacía por el Departamento de Homeland Security, pero ahora esto lo controla ICE directamente. Y bueno, la persona ha estado llamando y no contestan. Muchas personas no se han podido reportar porque desde que llegó la pandemia las cosas cambiaron. Otros no se han podido reportar porque han cambiado circunstancias de una u otra forma. No se le va a quitar nada, no va a pasar nada si usted va directamente a ICE e intenta reportarse en persona, porque a veces la gente puede reportarse por correo electrónico o puede reportarse por teléfono, pero si no contestan por teléfono, inténtelo por correo, y si no, no le quita nada, no le va a pasar nada de que usted vaya y se reporte directamente con ICE allá en las oficinas. Así que trate de hacerlo, y bueno, y que mientras usted no esté haciendo nada malo, mientras usted no golpee a nadie en su familia, ni a los hijos, ni a la esposa, ni al esposo, o no haga fiestas, o no tenga ningún contacto con la policía por denuncias en su contra, usted no debe tener ningún tipo de miedo de que lo van a deportar. Y aparte de eso, pues tenemos que tener cuidado, porque los asiáticos, los hispanos, nos gustan mucho las fiestas, y nos dice la abogada que ella fue la primera que se mudó a un vecindario donde solo eran blancos, y la única asiática era ella, y le mandaron como 2 tickets porque hacían fiestas y todo, y entonces le dieron 2 tickets por parte de la policía. Eso fue hace unos 35 años atrás. Ahora hay más diversidad en cada vecindario, y bueno, las personas ya por lo menos la conocen a ella, y ya en este tiempo ella no hace ese mismo tipo de fiestas. Tenemos una última pregunta, Alicia, de Susana.
Así es. ¿Qué nos dice de Susana? Nos dice Susana Reyes: hola, ¿qué pasa? Mi hijo entró a este país con su papá en el 2019, abogada. A los 6 meses lo deportaron al padre y el hijo se quedó y él está con deportación. ¿Qué puedo hacer?
Okay, so Ms. Wong, this person is asking, my son entered to this country with his dad on 2019. 6 months later, his father was deported, and my son stayed here, and he has a removal order, or is in removal proceedings. What can I do?
Make sure you file if the son came undocumented, and also because he came with a father, so he's not a UAC, that means not an unaccompanied minor. So, but check where's the mother. Make sure you file the asylum, and because if you file it within less than 1 year, and also because he's a minor, you can explain to the judge that you missed your 1 year. At least he gets a work permit after 9 months to a year. But check out the story. And to win asylum, you have to have a very good narrative of fear. The good news about President Biden's regime or reign or presidenthood is that family asylum is also asylum. For example, your father was threatened, or your uncle was threatened, your uncle was murdered, or or the Maras were against any family member, it may come back to you. When the law on family asylum went back to the Obama era and the Bush era, they stopped the Trump era because Trump took away all family asylum cases. So if your uncle or your husband or wife is murdered, it doesn't imply you'll be murdered. So family asylum is back. Also, there's a lot of new things now, but definitely I will file the asylum and fight the case in court. If you lose, there's 3 more appeals. But if it's a 1-year filing as a minor, it's faster to win. I presume it's a defensive asylum, but there are 2 types of asylum. One is affirmative, one defensive. That means let's assume I came undocumented, or I came with a tourist visa, I overstayed, or there was no pickup at the border, I never volunteered, and you file asylum within a year, that's an affirmative 1-year filing. But you could also file that at 5 years, you probably will lose, or if not, win withholding, or at least get that work permit. That's what we call affirmative. Defensive means already in court. I'm filing asylum as a defensive move. That's why immigration law is a lot of fun. It's like an art of war. Art of war means that the prince, I love to read these books. I would love to beat immigration. So you read about the art of war. It's like a chess game, it's beautiful. You play one hand, I play one hand. You play one hand, I play one hand. And who got the king, who got the queen? And sometimes I purposely lose because I want the judge to give me a win. So I say, I lost. That's why people play golf with the presidents of the United States. They purposely lose so the president do them a favor, So everything is strategic. Everything is you think with your mind. There are only 3 things you think. You have a mind and your brain, your heart, and your love and your passion and your gut. You work. People like us, we are very lonely. We came alone. We came alone as a child. We came alone as an adult. I came alone with a little sister as a student. So you have to think alone. It's like giving childbirth. I always tell people, those of us who have children, remember how on that childbirth bed is so painful. I was yelling at my husband and saying, get away from me, nobody can help me. So just think of all those lonely times. Immigration is like that. It's lonely, it's alone, it's a journey. We all go through it. None of us came easy. Even with marriage cases now, it's taken 2 or 3 years.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wong. Bueno, habría que ver cuál es la situación del hijo de esta persona.
Ella nos puso ahí que tenía 15 años.
He's 15 years old, Ms. Wong.
Oh, good job. What a court. Yeah. What state are they from? Did they say? Nashville, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey.
¿En qué estado vive Susana? Si nos puede dar esa información, ¿en qué estado vive usted? Porque nos dice la abogada que para su hijo podría aplicarse por el Word of Court.
Dependency action.
Yeah.
Father was deported. Where's the mother? Yeah. So this is a good case.
They are in Atlanta. So
good. Atlanta is hard. Atlanta is mean. We need some good lawyers to change the law. Atlanta, if even one parent is here, you couldn't do it. So where's the mother?
The mother is here in the United States. ¿Dónde está usted, Susana? ¿Usted está con su hijo?
Move somewhere else. Move to Nashville. There's a lot of jobs. The pay is good. Move to Cleveland. We have a lot of jobs and the pay is not as good, but it's still a good place. Move to New York, under 21. 15-year-old mother is here. Good job. Yeah, but why was the father deported? That doesn't seem fair unless there's abuse or under criminal. Yeah, then you need to vacate.
Sí.
Bueno, definitivamente.
Sí, nos dice la abogada pues que habría que ver si el niño pudo aplicar por asilo dentro del tiempo. Está en un proceso de deportación. Lo que le recomienda la abogada es que, bueno, aquí en el estado de Georgia los abogados son, o los jueces son más difíciles para hacer el proceso de Word of Court. Así que si usted quiere que el caso sea un poquito más accesible, puede mudarse a Tennessee, a Nashville, puede mudarse a Cleveland, Ohio, en Nashville hay buenos trabajos, hay buenas posibilidades, hay buenos pagos, así que usted podría moverse y su hijo podría aplicar por el Word of Court porque su papá fue deportado y él quedó en riesgo aquí en los Estados Unidos. Si bien está con su mamá, él igual puede aplicar por este beneficio del Word of Court. Así que, bueno, la abogada va a estar aquí en Atlanta el día de mañana, jueves 15 de septiembre. Así que, ¿por qué no venir a la oficina de la abogada, llamar, hacer su cita al 216-259-8897 y venir y estar mañana aquí en la oficina para hablar directamente con la abogada Margaret W.
Qué buena noticia, Juan Carlos, 15 de septiembre. Aquí la abogada, usted todavía puede hacer su cita al 216-259-8897. Y qué buenas noticias para Susana, porque es son buenas nuevas en el caso de su hijo de tan solo 15 años y por todo lo que está pasando. Aprovechar la experiencia de la abogada Margaret Wong con más de 45 años en el área migratoria, como nosotros decimos siempre, defendiendo a los inmigrantes con pasión. Y si usted que nos está escuchando todavía no ha hecho su cita, que nos está viendo a través de Facebook Live, tiene el tiempo marcando al 216-259-8897. Yo sé, Juan Carlos, que nos hemos extendido. Abogada, era que la extrañábamos. Estuvimos 2 semanas sin la abogada Margaret W y parece que estaban todas esas preguntas acumuladas de personas que querían que ella personalmente les respondiera, Juan Carlos.
Okay, Ms. Wong, we went above the time. We ran out of time long time ago, but it's because we miss you and people miss you. So thank you so much for having us today and see you tomorrow. Gracias, Alicia, por estar con nosotros en el día de hoy, haciendo un excelente trabajo como siempre. La directora del noticiero de inmigración, Alicia Lluveres, Juan Carlos Brando, quien humildemente también les acompaña aquí desde la sala, donde pronto vamos a tener nuevamente las instalaciones del estudio, y la abogada Margaret Wong desde la ciudad de Cleveland, Ohio. 216-259-8897, 216-259-8897. Si usted tiene preguntas o tiene preocupación, no se preocupe, llame a la abogada Margaret Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. 216-259-8897. Hasta la próxima.
Hasta la próxima.
La abogada Margaret W. Wong tiene 45 años de experiencia en leyes de inmigración y ha sido premiada en múltiples ocasiones como una de las mejores abogadas del país. Maneja todo tipo de casos migratorios a nivel nacional y tiene oficinas en 9 ciudades: Cleveland, Nueva York, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, Columbus, Raleigh, North Carolina, Chicago y Minneapolis. No hay caso de inmigración que no podamos manejar. Es la abogada Margaret Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. 216-259-8897. 216-259-8897.
Yo soy Margaret Wong.